Hey guys, J77 here doing another What's News topic, a very special What's News topic. It involves one major theme, even though the articles are pretty much separate from one another. The theme of the articles as well as the general topic remains the same. Originally, I was supposed to have this out a few weeks ago, but I wasn't satisfied with the presentation, mainly because I realized after looking at the video that I was actually doing more ranting than just having a general conversation, and I did not want to do that. I didn't want this to make a ranting video. I wanted to make it more of a respectful conversation video where I express some of my experience with this topic, as well as allow the community, whether it's YouTube, Blue Hawk Media, MagicExpression.com, as well as ComboCastCon.com, to express, to allow them to have their own opinion and have their own views be heard on a very serious matter. I also had another video that I actually have done and completed and posted, but due to audio reasons, that happens to put a blank of what I had to do. So I am doing it now. So I might as well just get started. This video is about bullying, but more importantly, it's about whether or not society is really taking it seriously. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is that, as you know, from all over the states, that they've been passing very tough anti-bullying laws. They've been passing cyberbullying laws, really cracked down on schools, as well as parents getting onto the schools about the severe case of bullying and the lack of attention that some of the school members as well as Congress has been showing. And yet it does it forced me to ask a very important question, especially from someone who experienced bullying a long time ago and still has the effects of what has happened to me in elementary school to this day. It raises the question of how serious are we really taking it, because I'll be honest with you guys, no matter what laws are being pushed out there, no matter how much we cry for justice, unless we look at bullying as a more of a personal level and discuss it as a personal topic, I only think we're just putting a band-aid on a very serious situation. I'm gonna read a very good topic here, a very good article that pretty much sums it all in a nutshell, and I will leave a link because I got a lot of stuff that I think that people can use in terms of educating themselves about the seriousness of bullying. It's a very well topic, and I'm going to read the whole entire article so you guys have an understanding of why I felt that this one really hit all major important aspects of bullying. So let's get started with this. Bullying has become a tidal wave of epic proportion. Although bullying was once considered a rite of passage, parents, educators, and community leaders now see bullying as a devastating form of abuse that can have long-term effects on youthful victims, robbing them of self-esteem, isolating them from peers, causing them to drop out of school, and even prompting health problems and suicide. Recent studies by the Family and Works Institute reported that 1/3 of youth are bullied at least once a month, while others say 6 out of the 10 American teens witness bullying at least once a day. Witnessing bullying can be harmful too, as it makes the witness feel helpless or that he or she is the next target. Children who are bullied are often singled out because of previous differences between them and others, whether because of appearances, size, weight, or clothes, intelligence, or increasing or in sensitivity, ethics or religious affiliation and sexual orientation. Bullying can be a gateway behavior, teaching the perpetrator that threats and aggression is acceptable even in adulthood. In one study by the Fight Crime Invest in Kids, nearly 60% of boys who researchers classified as bullies, in grade 6 to 9 were convicted of at least one crime by the age of 24, while 40% had 3 or more convictions. This article, that's pretty much the gist of what the article was saying, but they also have other stuff that is also very deemed helpful for those who are willing to take the information to heart. There's some information about bullying. What parents can do, teaching kids about bullying, girls and bullying, advice to kids, strategies. There's also training on bullying, professional training by the NCP for youth and adults in managing bullying situations, publication and products on bullying, public change through policy, helping kids handle conflict. Those stuff are also out there, and programs on bullying. Be safe and sound in school. This one here says that it states that to be safe and sound in school, programs aim to improve the safety and security of our nation's schools by mobilizing parents, school administrators, elected officials, policymakers, and students to take actions on issues of school safety and security. That and a lot of other stuff here is has links to the stuff that people may find very helpful, very useful. I will leave this article in. It's probably the very first article you see when you click on this video, and like I said, it's there for anyone who feel that they can relate to what they are saying. By all means, get the information. It's very, very important. Yeah, this is it pretty much nails a lot of stuff that a lot of people have been saying. A lot of stuff that they said about how bullying works is pretty much mentioned on that article. There are many different forms of bullying. And right now, the idea that bullying only happened in school, I think that's been proven wrong, because from a lot of articles I have been grabbing hold of, there's children bullying children, parents bullying children, children bullying adults, even have adults bullying adults. This is not just a one thing isolated incident, and I think people need to realize that it's not just the schools. It's a more broader picture, and I think it's time that everyone, no matter how old they are, should take a look at the broader picture. The main reason why it's becoming a main issue, of course, no doubt that where we gather information is different now. Nothing's really kept behind closed doors when it comes to issues like this. We have we get information differently. We don't just rely on local newspapers. We go to the World Wide Web to get information, and with the sharing of videos, with people blogging, our news is more broader, where the point is that now with stuff that normally you wouldn't hear or was kept pretty much under the rug, it's coming to the forefront, and now more than ever people are becoming more and more aware that, hey, this is more serious than what we thought it was. I know for me, when I was growing up, when in terms of bullying, schools never took it seriously. They basically shrugged it off as if it was nothing, and the results of it, it just encouraged it to continue. I wasn't the most popular kid in the class, but that's more because I mostly kept to myself, didn't know how to talk to people too much, and a lot of the popular kids took wind of that. They used their popularity to allow others to join in on the fun. and pretty much that resulted in me having confidence problems, low self-esteem, and that affected me pretty much even to this day. I'm slowly getting out of that situation, but education-wise, yeah, it did affected me greatly. Right up to the point where I never really finished high school. It took me a while to graduate even middle school. Luckily, got my GED, happily got my degree in accounting, but the effects, those who said that, oh, people grow out of it, no, many people don't grow out of it. The effects can be long lasting, where sometimes they can never recover from that. And believe me, but the schools, they really never really treated, at least when I was around, they didn't really treat it seriously. They just thought it was kids just being a bunch of morons. It wasn't until a trend started happening. You hear a lot of shootings that happen in the schools, and you hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I can't believe I don't know how this can happen." And when I was growing up as a teen, I always shook my head and said, "I think you know why these kids snap the way they are. I think it's time that we seriously discuss this situation." To the point where now lawsuits are being placed against these schools. When I was in Boys Town, during my last few years as a teenager, if you want to call it, a lot of the kids that I was with, a lot of fellow Boys Town members I was with, they was being bullied, and I'm pretty much for sure because they was in the same group home and everybody found out about it, that they was being bullied about it. They addressed it to Boys Town, which in terms they went and discussed it with the administrator, say that what's going on, but they didn't do anything. And to the point where it gotten physical, to the point where injuries started happening, and then Boys Town decided, you know what, we need to pull you guys out, and everybody who was in that school who was with Boys Town got pulled out, and it was a big suit against the school because they brought it to their attention, and they still haven't done anything. Whether or not they followed through on that suit, I don't know. My guess is they dropped it because everybody was out of the school and it was in different schools at that time, and that pretty much calmed things down a bit. But the damage has been done, and the fact that the school just either didn't know how to deal with it or flat out just ignored it really did not boost my confidence that they actually will do anything. In fact, it only pretty much not trust the school's administration while I was growing up throughout that time period. And news of other events similar to that started surfacing in special presentation reports, like the Dateline, NBC, 1010 Wins talked about it, and it really showed that, hey, this is more serious. But it wasn't until you start hearing that children that have even in teenagers, like children ages like 9, 7, and 5 was committing suicide because of bullying in school. Some of the stories I actually have here, and I'm going to be talking about it because some of the stuff that I read just broke my heart about how how this situation has they still haven't got a full grasp of how serious the situation is until it really hits close to home. But in any case, the schools, they always seem to be in the front line of the situation because of their inability or lack of ability to monitor and approach the situation. One of the stories that prompted serious changes in Massachusetts law is a perfect example of that, and also events that happened in New York also prompted a lawsuit from a person who was also bullied. But I want to get this one here because this one is a very foretelling story. And just to remind you, some of the articles I'm bringing out here is a little bit dated, but again, whether it is a few months old, a few weeks old, or a few years old, the story is still connected. This still has a very telling tale, and this is a story that should remind us all that we really need to address this situation and address it seriously to prevent another tragedy like this from happening. But apparently, this story is talking about 6 teenagers who was charged after classmate committed suicide. This was published on March 29th, 2010. And it goes as followed. It is not clear what some students at South Handy High School expected to achieve by subjecting a Frenchman to relentless taunting, described by both prosecutors and classmates. Certainly not suicide, and certainly not multiple felony indictments announced on Monday against several students at a Massachusetts school. The prosecutor brought charges Monday against 6 teenagers, saying they taunted and physically threatened were beyond the pales, and led to a Frenchman, Phoebe Prince, to hang herself from the stairwell in January. The charges was unusually sharp legal response to the problems of adolescent bullying, which is increasingly conducted in cyberspace as well as schoolyards, and drawing growing concerns among parents, educators, and lawmakers. An uproar around the suicide of Ms. Prince, 15, and an 11-year-old boy subjected to harassment in nearby Springfield last year. The Massachusetts legislature stepped up to work on an anti-bullying law that is now near passage. The law would require school staff members to report suspected incidents and principals to investigate them. It would also demand schools to teach about the dangers of bullying. 41 states have anti-bullying laws of varying strength. The article continues to go on to say that in Prince's case, 2 boys and 4 girls ages 16 and 18 faces different mix of felony charges, including statutory rape, violation of civil rights, with bodily injury, harassment, stalking, and disturbing a school assembly. Apparently, the state and local police officials on Monday, the prosecutor said that Ms. Prince's suicide came after nearly 3 months of severe taunting and physical threats by a cluster of fellow students. The investigation revealed relentless activity directed towards Prince to make it impossible for her to stay in school. This is the prosecutor saying this. The conduct of those charged, she said, for exceeding the limit of normal teenage relationship related quarrels. So it went beyond just a few arguments. They went way, they crossed the line beyond a point of no return. And this is where it bothers me the most. This is where, when I did the first video, I really pretty much had to stop a bit and grab my thoughts, because I was very angry at this one paragraph, because it just shows how sometimes the schools are very irresponsible in dealing with a situation, especially when it is sorry about that, guys. I had to do a jump cut there, but right now let's go back to what I was talking about. But like I said, when I read this, it really ticked me off, and I really had to stop, take a few breathers, because this just shows a lot that how sometimes the schools do absolutely nothing to stop a situation from becoming worse. But the paragraph says, it's particularly alarming that the district attorney said that some teachers, administration, and other staff members at the school were aware of the harassment but did not stop it. I'm going to read this again, so if you didn't hear me the first time or I went too fast. It is particularly alarming, the district attorney said, that some teachers, administration, and other staff members at the school were aware of this harassment happening, but did not stop it. And they also on to say the actions or interaction of some adults at the school were troublesome, but it did not violate any laws, and that's the big key here. Because of what they have not done, now there's laws And what other schools have done, by the way, not just this school, but um, what other schools have done or did not do. We're now having new laws passed forcing them to take actions in ways that sometimes can be helpful and other times can also be not so helpful, and I get that as the video continues. But in pretty much case, this is why a lot of laws are starting to pop out because of stuff like this. It also said that they don't know why certain charges have been brought up. The statutory rape, of course, is one of them. According to reports, that it because they had sex that were at underage, and it's illegal to have sex at a certain age. But they didn't really go into it too much in this article. Keep in mind, this article is old, so if there is actually an updated article, I will post it on the a link to that article so that people can follow through. But this pretty much says it all. I mean, this is here, and like I said, this is why I always say to a lot of people, I always felt that when it comes to bullying, I always felt it's always something more personal. That person has a gripe on you because of what you are, who you are, what nationality you are, what sexual orientation you are, and it's so personal that it goes beyond just talking trash. This goes beyond it, because when you're bullying, it's personal. Two, it's about power, because the more you do it, the more power you have. I know, because I've seen how the guy was always getting getting more respect for taking me down. It wasn't until something happens where he got flung down a peg. But this is the kind of stuff that that the schools almost always seem to ignore, because they always have this idea that, well, it's just nothing, it'll probably go past. Well, this is what happened, and now we got laws now that pretty much forced him to do the job. And by the way, I'm not against that. I'm not against laws being passed for that, because sometimes you can't really rely on the schools governing themselves. Sometimes you need a bill to let them do their job. There's a pro and a con for that, of course, but I'd rather have that done, saying, hey, if you don't do this, this is going to happen, than not have anything at all, and then you have a situation where they just choose to ignore it, and that's something that's a problem. But this is one of the saddest stories. This is one of the stories that actually got me angry because of that, because it reminds me a lot about how my school had treated the situation to a very large degree. And believe me, no kid should never have to go through it, at a point where they don't even want to go to school anymore, and fear for their lives every time they go to school, and be taunted 24 hours a day. Because it just, like I said, this went beyond just in the classroom. They actually was trying to harass her on Facebook. They was trying to get her. They was actually coordinating plans to get her, and it doesn't add up. So again, this is something beyond that. Another thing about this is, and I also totally agree with this article, because this is the article that really surprised me. This one is recent, and as a result of what has happened, there's actually two articles. One is that's been recent, and another one that happened a while back. But this one pretty much prompted a woman to file a lawsuit against the school district, and that was happened when a teenager was literally jumped to the point brutally where now he is blind in one eye, and he's now had to go to multiple surgeries just to see in that eye again. It's a very, very sad story, and I got it right here. A family of New York City teenagers said that attacked by bullies left his son blind in his right eye. The 14-year-old said he was attacked at Royal Men's Junior High School on June 5th, 2012. He had 2 surgeries and expect to have more. The attackers have yelled anti-gay slurs during the beating. Even though he's not gay, the actions of his attackers may be considered a hate crime. this is becoming a more and more of a situation, not just with teenagers who may or may not be gay, but also people who are just being brutally attacked on the streets. It shakes my head how people are so hateful against people because of their sexual orientation, that they feel that it's their right to go out and just beat them up or harass them because of that. There's another story, and by the way, in this story, there's a lawsuit being handled because, according to the recent update of the situation, the school was aware about the harassment, but also did nothing. The school did reply and said, "Hey, when the situation has happened, when the attack happened, we call the cops and these guys are arrested," which they are. But the question that people's asking: did you do something before this whole attack happened, or after the fact that the attack happens? And that's something that nobody really answered. I do know one thing, that the lawsuit is happening, and it definitely looks like he has a good case against the school, because from what we understand, it was documented that he did reported this, and the school officials basically turned a blind eye against this 14-year-old, who may never see in his eye again. And there was no pun intended, guys, so I'm just letting you guys know that wasn't trying to be funny, but I'm just letting you know that the school basically ignored any type of actions to make sure this doesn't happen again, or at least investigate these situations. The same thing happened with another person, and this time the parents got involved. And this report says that she had filed a federal lawsuit against the school. The woman, who goes by the name of last name is Lanzone, filed a lawsuit in federal court last week. She claims her son, who was not identified in court papers, had been relentlessly bullied over the last 2 school years. The harassment ramped when he told classmates he was gay. Everything from being pushed, kicked, having food thrown at him, his clothes being hidden. It was just relentless, Lanzone said. Lanzone said she has complained to the officials at least 30 times, not once, not twice, not 5 times, 30 times, about the bullying. Her son also complained, but Lanzone said the harassment continues. Court papers say that classmates carved anti-gay slurs into his desk, yelled obscenities. However, the boy, despite the lawsuit, does remain in the school, which may not be for long, depending on the situation, how far the woman's going to go. A lot of people have voiced their opinion on this, mostly positive. They're saying that's good for her. Sometimes you have to take these schools to court to get the message that cannot stand. A lot of people are saying, well, why was that kid announced to the world that he's gay? Look, I don't know what the situation is. People probably was asking him questions. He got tired of answering the questions. But whether he announced he's gay or whether they found he's gay, it's not the point. The point is, they have no right to harass them and pick on them and make his life a living hell because of that. If you don't like his sexual orientation, fine. Just don't talk to the guy. Don't take it to the next level where now this situation has surfaced. I do applaud the woman. She did the right thing. She made sure to notify the school, and the school should have taken some very strict actions against the people who were doing this. And sadly, we now have a lawsuit in the hands, and I'm not going to be following through with this because this is something that I like to curious on what the judge had to say. But this is the kind of stuff that really scratched my head. If the parents calling 30 times about the same thing, and you still ignore it, something tells me that you just choose not to do your job. You guys may disagree. I'd like to hear your opinion on this. But again, this is one of the situations that at least the parent is trying to carve the action of a bunch of morons before it gets a lot worse. Others isn't so fortunate. In this story here, oh man, this story, I think this is the one story that really angered me the most, because of the age, as well as how heartless this boy is. So I'm going to read this article here, and then I'll let you guys also comment on this article. But mind you, this one got me deeply. 11-year-old Trayfield Smiley took his life after being harassed at school ever since his father made it his mission to fight bullying. By the way, this article is blown by Leslie Caulfield. She's a very good writer, by the way. You should check out her work. She's very, very good. On Thursday afternoon, in May 2010, shortly after his mother's dropped him off from school, Trayfield Smiley, who was 11 years old, took his own life. He was only a week away from completing the 6th grade. We buried time on May 17th, 2010, said Kirk Smiley of his son, who has been relentlessly bullied by the same boy at the school for 2 years. Bullied ended up serving only 1 day of a 3-day suspension. And believe me, that's not even the tip of the iceberg. This is not what got me upset. The first and only time he was punished by the schools for harassing Try. The following Monday, after Try committing suicide, the bully went up to a little girl and said Try died because of her. She then tried to take her own life. The first day of the school year, the year after Try died, the same kid walked up to the son's best friend and said, "I took care of one of you, and now let me see what I can do about you." At that point, I had to stop. I had to literally stop recording. I had to literally just take a breather and just walk away. This boy is the same age as his victim. He's 11 years old. They're pretty much the same age. And this report here, that one whole paragraph, just described how cold and heartless and unremorseful this 11-year-old boy is. Just no remorse whatsoever. And I was upset at the fact that how this boy has been conducting himself in terms of showing how unremorseful he is, how unregretful he was. But it also tells me, what the hell is this parent teaching him? I mean, really, when you hear an 11-year-old boy say something like that, it goes beyond something else. There's something going on. There's something not right up here. It really is. But believe me, it was the most difficult thing when I had to read it, because every time I read it, and believe me, even though I'm calm now, it still hurt. It still bothers me, because that's an 11-year-old, and to have an 11-year-old show that kind of cold, remorseless attitude to his peers and even to himself, it's just it really does scratch my head. It really does. The article said that Try's father continues has dedicated his life, devoted his life into fighting bullying. He's working with Stand for Silence, a nonprofit organization of anti-bullying created by students in honor of Try. He also says in his comment that he fights bullying whatever he finds it. Smiley vows the school has vowed. He does work, school workplaces. I'm not going to quit until bullying does. Since Try's death, Smiley who is from a small town, I think it's Perkins, Oklahoma, has spoken to more than 100 schools and addressed well over 100,000 students. God bless him. He teaches he teaches about life and death consequences of bullying, with testimonial videos and role-playing activities. He determined to save other children from such unthinkable fate and spare the parents the unimaginable misery. If his mother and him, he also knew what was going on, they would have done everything necessary to save him. And he also stated, and it ends with him and his wife does not want no other family to feel the pain that he has endured. It's a very, very sad story in many, many ways, and it really does describe, because I tell you right now, when it comes to this situation, because the article clearly states that they did not see the signs, which doesn't surprise me at all, because many people say, well, there should be some kind of signs. I got news for you. Victims of bullying sometimes have a tendency to keep it in here. They tend to keep it inside. They have an invisible wall. You will not see the invisible scars on them unless they actually bring it out to them. For me, most people didn't know what was going on in my school. I kept it hidden. I kept it to myself. I smiled in their face. I just talked like nothing's going on. But I believe there was something going on behind the scenes. So, unfortunately, when I got older, I was able to talk to more people about the situation. And that helped a lot, but other people were not that fortunate, and unfortunately, when they feel that there's no one to turn to, or they got the idea that their parents won't help them, they feel that suicide is the only option, and we get that a lot. There's a lot of reports on that, and that's just one of the reasons why I say to a lot of people that you always want to know what your kids are doing all the time. You always want to ask them, everything okay? Everything's good? Tell me what your day was. Always keep that that door of communication open, because the last thing you want to do is not ask your child what's going on, okay, and let them have that false sense of, oh, he doesn't really care anymore, so why bother going to them? No, you want to always talk to your kids. Every time they come from school, you always want to have that conversation. Whether it's at a dinner table or just sitting down, always ask them, everything is all right, everything is good. So that way they can rely on you and trust you enough to say, hey, this is what's going on in school. I don't know how to deal with that. Could you please help me with that? And that way you can take actions. But if you don't have that door of communication and the kids sense it, stuff like that, sometimes that stuff can go unmissed, because they don't feel they can come to you when the situation is dire. You guys, again, as usual, you might may think differently. By all means, put your own feelings in the comment section. I'd love to hear what your feelings on that. And again, I will leave this story. This story, again, it may be a bit dated, but like I said, the theme behind it is not. And you can learn. And like I said, all the articles I'm bringing here, I'm bringing to the forefront for a reason. So by all means, look at them and share your own experience on this. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to stop here on the 37-minute mark. I will be back with part 2. But until then, this is J77 saying take care, be safe.